Hello, welcome to this game review. We'll have a look at this short game. It will be a good exercise in opening principles. Both sides didn't really follow them, and we will see how they could improve their opening play without memorizing a lot of courses and stuff like that. It's more about principles, and we will see what I mean in more depth. So white played e4, which is quite a good start. Knight c6, not a very good move, because it allows d4 for white, and white has the perfect center. So one of the opening principles is to fight for the center with pawns, and black didn't do that, which means white is able to do just that, and now white is a little bit better. But white played knight c3, now e5, and now we got a normal position. a5 is a good move. Bishop c4, developing pieces, and black plays a6, which violates another opening principle. In general, in the openings, we do not want to push pawns for no reason, because every time we push a pawn, we lose the chance to use our move to develop a piece. For example, with knight f6, or bishop c5, or something else. a6 wastes a move. In general, maybe the move might be useful in some contexts. Maybe b5 is an idea, but there is no reason to play a6 right now. Instead, black should develop pieces. Now white violated another opening principle, which is not to move the same piece twice. The reason we do not want to move the same piece twice, unless there's a good reason to do so, is because in the opening rapid development is our priority, so every piece should be moved as little times as possible. So we moved the knight already, it's developed, the bishop is developed. Next we can move our other knight, maybe push this pawn or push it to d4, then develop this bishop, castle eventually. We want to be economic in our use of moves, so whenever we move the same piece twice, we lose the chance to develop another piece. So here 2 against 1, white could have gotten an advantage of 3 against 1, which is already quite significant. Set knight d5, b5, bishop goes back. There's no reason not to go to b3 to stay on the active diagonal. Black violates the same opening principle, pushing the same piece twice without any reason. There's no reason to trade off this knight unless we can trade it off for one that is not developed. Black should maybe play here, try to trade off the knight and just get developed and castle. But knight b4. Again, white violates another opening principle by playing knight e3, moving the same piece for the third time. And in these 3 moves, the knight hasn't really achieved much. There was no reason to do this. Instead, white should again maybe develop his pieces, or maybe play d3. Or if he doesn't want a doubled pawn, he can take, maybe play c3 and then d4, put a knight on f3, and he will have quite a lot of the center. Now black finally develops, and white plays f3, which is a very bad move, because it weakens the king on 2 diagonals. In general, in the opening, in these king's pawn openings, we don't really want to touch our f-pawn, unless we really have to. And also, it takes away the most natural square from the knight on g1, so now it will have to go to some strange square like h3, which in general isn't what we want. We don't want knights on the rim. c5, again, not a terrible move, but black had the chance to take the whole center with d5, attacking e4 again, and if the center opens up, black will be doing quite well because his pieces are better placed. This is why we should have developed them earlier, so that we're ready for these moments when the center will be opened up, which always come inevitably. White, again, makes a terrible mistake with knight f5, moving the same knight for the 4th time in 8 moves, which in general is a bad idea, and even though the knight has taken up half of white's moves, it has achieved nothing. The knight is not attacking any important squares. Instead, white should try to develop his pieces, maybe develop the knight so he could castle, or maybe play d3 to develop the bishop, maybe play c3 to get rid of this knight, maybe play an eventual d4, maybe regroup like this. But white really has to develop his pieces somehow. He cannot keep moving the same piece. That is a general recipe for disaster. Now black played a very good move, d5, Now black has taken the whole center, so even though he didn't start by fighting for the center, now he is fighting, and black has a big advantage because his pieces are better placed, the knight here and the knight here, which can still go back to the center, comparing with these two. And more importantly, black has a lot of pawns in the center. So now white plays c3, the knight went back. It was more accurate to take this pawn because the knight is hanging, but this is fine. d3, and clearly black is doing very well. Now he takes this knight with a bishop that has never moved. He takes a knight that has moved 4 times, which means white basically lost 3 moves in this game. And this is the result. Black has a huge center, and he also has 2 knights in the center against this terrible bishop, and all of the pieces for white are bad. d4, not strictly necessary, black would just continue developing, but okay, d4. f4, again, white neglects his development. He should just develop his knight, get castled, and maybe then try some kind of operations with f4. Here the position opens up, black finishes development. White, again, same mistake as usual, moving the same piece for another time. The bishop has already developed. We shouldn't move the bishop again unless there's a compelling reason. And this pin isn't very useful. White should just develop his knight while protecting the bishop, and then castle. Bishop g5, now h6. And black takes here and castles, so black has finished his development. Now white is catching up, and black plays this very bad move, g5. And the only explanation for this move and for white's answer to this move would be that he doesn't know the rule of en passant. And here white can just take this pawn, completely ruining black's king position. And now after castles, black has no advantage because both sides are completely developed, and also white's king is as unsafe as black's king. Maybe black's king is less safe because the pawns have been moved. But instead, white does the same thing by opening the opponent's king, but at the cost of a piece, which was completely unnecessary. He could have just gotten the same kind of position like this. And here, this piece sacrifice doesn't work at all, and the reason is that white's pieces are completely not prepared for any attack. If he had not wasted so much time earlier, perhaps his pieces would be in better positions, and this sacrifice could work. But now that the pieces are here, and the king is here, black has nothing to worry about. And he is completely developed, so he is the one actually making real threats, while he is also a piece up. So now black is completely winning, white continues not developing, and now this costs him dearly. He should have just castled and tried to play on. For example, move the attacked rook, maybe try to put the bishop somewhere, try to maneuver the queen somewhere, and hope to get some kind of compensation. Bishop h5 is played, which doesn't even threaten anything. Of course, black will not take losing his queen, but the bishop is just not doing anything here. Now black wins more material, and the rest of the game is not very interesting. Black trades, he develops his queen eventually, and white has no pieces to attack with, so the rest of the game is unnecessary. And eventually white runs out of pieces, and the game ends in checkmate. And right, in this game, the main thing was opening principles, and white should really study some opening principles for the next game that he plays.